Hey there, it's Kat and this is Brews and Reviews. Today we're going to go through my April reading wrap-up, and I'm just going to tell you all about the books that I read during April. So first up, I finally finished off the Nixia Triad, and I read Nixia Uprising. This is a book I have been meaning to read for about a year, and I didn't. And I should have, because I really enjoyed the end to this trilogy. So this is the third and final book, so obviously I don't want to give you a synopsis of this book because it will bring out some very notable spoilers for previous books. But the first book in the series is a sci-fi YA, where a group of teenagers from all around the world are collected to go into space, and they have to sort of compete against each other to see who can go onto this planet where they can mine this substance called Nixia. There is a reason for them being teenagers, and it's mostly because the locals hate adults. So I was grateful that there was a reason for them being teenagers, otherwise it would make no sense. I don't want to spoil it, but I was very satisfied with how it ended. If you like sci-fi competition books, then you're probably going to enjoy this one. It was fun. So next up, I read The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. This copy was actually gifted to me by Connor from Connor's Library Corner, so I'll leave a link to his channel down below. I really appreciated it. It's lovely to actually have this book on my shelves. I really enjoyed it. This book is about an autistic woman named Stella who finds herself being told that she should get married and settle down and have kids and stuff like that. But she's not really experienced in relationships, so she hires a male escort to help teach her what to expect. And I thought this was really interesting. So this book is written by a known voices author as well. So it was really great to see that representation from an actually autistic person. There were bits about this book that I really enjoyed and bits that I didn't, because I think that some of the things can be really relatable, like the saying the wrong thing. As an autistic person, in my experience, it's really hard to just say the right thing all the time. Yeah, no. Honesty, it just comes out. I can't help it. Sorry. Not really sorry. I'm not sorry. You get honesty. There were things that I really liked about this book. Obviously, it was really interesting to see Stella enjoy things. Like, she really enjoys her work and different aspects of that. And I know I get lost in special interests all the time, so it's really interesting to see someone else get lost in their special interest. I also found it, like, super awkward at times because I'm like, oh, that's relatable in the worst kind of way. I wish this wasn't relatable, but it is, so great, I guess. I think the book definitely improved as it went on. I found the first section really awkward and I was uncomfortable with it, because the reason that this plot even happens is that her mum tells her that she should get in a relationship with someone. Then this guy that she works with is an asshole and says that she should probably practice sex because that's the only way that anyone will want her. And I find it so awkward that that is the reason that the romance then happens. It made me very uncomfortable that, like, this miscommunication had sort of led her down this route that she clearly wasn't very comfortable with. I don't love that. It is very uncomfortable at the beginning. And then as the book progresses, it gets much more cute. And I really liked how she and Michael gradually build up an actual relationship. I think that that's much better. So I kind of like discount the reasons behind the plot happening, but I like the end result. Yeah, I don't know. It ended up as a 4 out of 5 stars for me because there were bits I really, really liked about it. There was just a few things that made me a bit uncomfortable. Next up, I read Morning Star by David Gemmell. This is part of my David Gemmell project, so I do actually have a full review of this book on my channel. I'll leave a link to that down below, so you can go and check it out if you want to hear my actual thoughts on this. I'm going to say that it is a dark retelling of a reluctant Robin Hood with vampires, and I'll leave it at that. Go watch my review if you're curious. It is very fun with a morally grey main character. Next up, I read No One Is Too Small to Make a Difference by Greta Thunberg. This is a collection of speeches that she gave regarding climate change. I think this was a little hard to read, as obviously climate change is a difficult subject to talk about because we are destroying the planet and barely anyone cares, so it's quite difficult to actually read about. It's a very short collection of speeches, and I know that a large problem that a lot of people have is that it's very repetitive, but for me I don't actually think that was a problem because these were written as speeches, so they were intended to be heard and intended to stick in your mind, and repetition helps to stick something in your mind, so it actually makes more sense that it's repetitive, but that's perhaps just my understanding of it. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. So next up I read Queens of Geek by Jen Wild. This is about a group of friends who go to a nerdy convention and sort of enjoy themselves. One of them was a star of a breakout indie movie and a YouTuber, and the other two are just friends with her, and one of them happens to be an autistic girl. So yay for autistic representation, yay for bisexual representation. There was a lot of nice representation in here. I ended up only giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. And I think my biggest problem with it is that it all felt very surface level. The conversations that were had and the feelings that were felt were all very one note, and I don't feel like they ever delved into something that actually made me emotional. Like, for instance, there is a conversation where the autistic main character meets another autistic girl and they have a conversation about autism, but it's kind of like running through a checklist of like things that you would search up if you were trying to see if you were autistic or not. I'd be like, oh yeah, I have that too. Do you have this? Do you have this? Yeah, I have that. Are you this? Yeah, I'm that. Rather than, I think, a more realistic conversation to have had might have been, wow, isn't it really noisy and really busy in this conventional? And then the other one being like, yeah, I have to keep my headphones on all the time because I need to block out some of the noise. Oh, I should get some headphones. That would be really useful to me. If the intention was to discuss that they had overly sensitive hearing, that would have been a much better way to go about it. But I don't know, it all just felt very like, just throw it at the page and make it stick. Also, this convention must have been the biggest convention ever. It didn't really make sense to me, the layout of it and all of these things, especially the indie movie. There was way too much stuff about it for it to be an indie movie. It definitely was a hugely popular movie to have a huge maze created out there. I don't know, perhaps in America conventions are huge, but the conventions I've been to in the UK are not that big, not by any stretch of the imagination. It just kind of fell a bit flat for me, and although I really liked some of the representation, I just didn't really connect with any of the characters. And I found that really annoying because I was really looking forward to this one, and I was looking forward to the autistic representation, but it did fall a bit flat. Next up, I read Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. So I read this one as a buddy read with Victoria from what Victoria read. And it was creepy. I really enjoyed this book. I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars, but I think that was me being a little bit generous. It probably sits at a more 4.5 stars, but I rounded up because I actually overall just really enjoyed it. It definitely did have some problems though. I think my major problem with it lies with the ending. It all tied up very, very quickly. Too quickly for my liking. It just sort of felt like it was going and then it just ended, which was a little bit disappointing. So this book follows an incident that happened in the middle of the Mariana Trench where a documentary research team went out there and all got killed by mermaids. And it turns out mermaids are real, but then nobody believes them because they've not seen them since. So this book follows a group of scientists who are going out there to actually prove that what had been seen was real. I thought it was really interesting. Again, we had autistic representation in here, which I didn't even know was going to be in here, and I was super psyched about that because I really liked the autistic character in this. There was deaf representation in here and the use of American Sign Language. I really actually liked the attitudes of one of the deaf characters being like, well, why should I bother talking to you because you never bothered to figure out a way to talk to me. I found that really interesting. I actually really want it to be made into like a Netflix series or something like that because I feel like it has that tension building vibe that is very creepy, and I would really, really like to watch it. There were some really cool creatures in an isolated place setting thing that I really, really enjoyed. So I was really happy with that, and I would love to see it made into a TV series. That's my dream for this book. The only other thing that I've got to say about this book is, I guess it's not really a spoiler, it's that the scientists that go out on this ship, something happens to one of them in which they basically have it confirmed that these mermaids are real. And instead of being like, oh, right, we should take this seriously, we might all die, like, this is very dangerous, they, like, have a party and get drunk, and they're like, I still don't believe that they're real, whatever. And I don't think that I'd necessarily have believed that people would act like that until, you know, the current situation in the world. Even seeing things, direct results of these things with your eyes, there's still people going, this is not real, it's a conspiracy, people are making it up. You know, it felt much more realistic after having gone through the panorama that we're in right now. So that's my main comment on this book. It was really fun. I really enjoyed the tension. I was creeped out by a lot of the things that happened, and it was a really good read. Just the ending knocked a little bit off for me, but aside from that, really good. So the next few books that I'm going to be talking about were books that I read during the Because We Can Readathon. So I actually have a vlog where I am talking about these books as I'm reading them, so there's more of my in-depth thoughts there. So I'm just going to give a quick rundown, and I'll link that vlog down below if you actually want to see what I really thought of the book as I went through it. So first up we have Once and Future by Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy. This is a sci-fi gender-bent retelling of King Arthur, where the 42nd reincarnation of King Arthur has been reborn as a girl. Yeah, I didn't really like it. I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. It just really didn't work for me. There were elements that I really liked, but I just didn't give one about any of the characters. I really didn't like that they were all so young, and I didn't like that it was all very surface level. Yeah, it really didn't do it for me, so I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Next up we have Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. This was the group book for the Because We Can readathon, and there's actually a live show of me talking about this book on the Because We Can readathon channel. I'll leave that link down below as well, so you can go and listen to me, Jenna, and Kat talk about that. I did give it 3 out of 5 stars, but yeah, go and listen to our chat about that. Then we have The Amethyst Panda by Kay MacLeod. This is the second book in the Mayamon series. The first one is The Carnelian Fox, and it is essentially kind of like Pokemon type world, and it's very cool. I enjoyed this one a lot, and it made me tear up a little bit in certain parts. I can definitely recommend this series. It is really fun. And I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I also read On the Edge of Gone by Corinna Dalvis, and this is a book about an impending apocalypse. A comet is heading for Earth, and this is a book about an autistic black girl who lives in the Netherlands and sort of finds her way onto one of the last ships that is still on Earth and hasn't left before the comet. It's really, really interesting. Honestly, this was the best autistic representation that I personally felt that I'd read throughout the month. I went through quite detailed thoughts about this in the vlog that I linked down below. It was really, really interesting to read. I really enjoyed it, and I think it was written really well. So if you're interested in some really great autistic representation, then you should definitely check this book out. If you want to hear more of my thoughts, go to that vlog. So next up, I picked up a book called The Beast of the Barrens, and it actually turned out to be my first DNF of the year. Can't believe I made it to April and hadn't DNF'd anything. It was bound to happen at some point, I suppose. I think this book was written by someone called Val St. Crow or something, I don't know. Basically, I was scrolling through TikTok and I came up with a recommendation where someone was like, oh, it's like Six of Crows meets Beauty and the Beast. And I was like, oh, okay, I just watched Beauty and the Beast again. I was like living off my Disney dreams because We Can readathon. And I was like, oh, Six of Crows as well. From the cover, it's obviously based on Kaz and a Kaz-Inej type relationship. And I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. Can't even joke about how bad this was. It was completely missold. It was nothing like Six of Crows and nothing like Beauty and the Beast. It was like this guy had decided to cosplay as Kaz Brekker, but was actually just like a really nice guy that had lied about doing all of these things that were bad, and I was like, well, no, I want you to be bad. Like, I came here for you to be bad. Why aren't you being bad? What? You made it all up? For God's sake. It was really frustrating. Like, I came here expecting you to have done some bad thing, and, you know, I got none of it. Also, this guy was like virtually a monk, and it really irritated me because it was sold as like a kind of sexy type book, and that was not what it was. If you happen to see a TikTok that sells this as a kind of sexy dark book, it's really not. It's anything but that. It's so boring, and it just didn't work for me. None of it worked for me. It was bad. I DNF'd it about halfway through the book, right before any sort of heist thing happened. I was just like, nah. So now we're on to the last book that I read in April, and I'm not going to talk about it too much because everybody already knows my feelings on it. It was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I reread this one the night before the show came out because I wanted to sort of refresh my memory on what happens in Shadow and Bone, as if I don't already know it pretty much word for word at this point in time. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was great. I still hate Mel. Mel sucks. TV Mel has much supremacy over book Mel, who can die in a hole. Also, you'll know I love the Darkling, and Ben Barnes as the Darkling is just pure perfection, so. Anyway, I gave that one 5 out of 5 stars, and nobody was surprised. So in the end, I read 8 physical books, 2 audiobooks, and 2 ebooks this month. I had 1 DNF, 1 2-star, 2 3-star, 4 4-star, and 4 5-star reads. My best book of the month was On the Edge of Gone by Corinna Dalvis. I really can't recommend that one highly enough. It is fantastic. And my worst book of the month was The Beast of the Barrens, because why? I didn't expect greatness, but I expected more than I got, so. Anyway, those are the books that I read throughout April. What did you read in April? Anything great? Did you have to DNF anything like I did? Because it was trash! I'm not sorry. It was really bad. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!